Hi everyone, Rich Crescenti here with another in our series of videos making music with Melodyne, and today we're going to be focusing on the sibilant balance tool. Now in an earlier video I talked about the general idea and the basic usage of sibilant balance tool and sibilant detection, but today what I want to do is dive in a little further and show you kind of a cool trick that I sometimes use when I need a little more control over that. Alright, so let's dive in and take a look right here, right? I've got a lead vocal on this track, and let's give it a listen.
I don't recall what we said, but I remember the spark.
Okay, now a quick refresher, right? When you're looking at Melodyne, you see these blobs right here. The blob references basically the intended pitch, the overall estimated pitch of any one of these phrases, and the line that you see going through it is the exact pitch that's being sung at any given instant. However, you may notice in some spaces we don't see the line going through. Instead, what we've got are these vertical hash marks right here. And this is new to Melodyne 5. This is sibilant detection. And Melodyne will show you wherever there is sibilant information by putting these vertical lines through it right there, right? If we listen right at that point, we get
The spark.
that S in the word spark right there. Now, if you don't see those vertical lines, that's pretty easy to fix, right? You can just come up to note assignment mode and make sure that sibilant handling is checked right there. You'll notice if it's not checked, those vertical hash marks disappear. So just make sure that you've got sibilant handling selected and checked right there, and now it makes it really easy to see wherever there are sibilants happening. And also new in Melodyne 5 is the sibilant balance tool. We no longer have to cut and separate those sibilants out to treat them, to alter them a little bit. With the sibilant balance tool, which is right here, we can control that. Now I want to remind you, this is a balance tool. It's not an amplitude tool. So it is always adjusting the balance between the sibilant information and the pitched information, right? So in this particular example, I can come over here to the sibilant balance tool and I can drag it down and just lower that S in the word spark a little bit.
The spark.
Okay, great. However, if I pull it up the other direction, you'll notice the pitched information decreases in volume. This is great. We can do something very, very useful right here, and I'm going to show you how right now. We're going to duplicate the vocal and make one of them only the sibilant information and the other one the body. Right, so real simple. Let's come over here to my vocal, and I'm going to duplicate it, and I want to duplicate everything on there because I want Melodyne on both of those tracks. And now what I'm going to do is just come to the very first one, and we'll call this first one lead vocal sibilance, and we'll call the other one lead vocal body so that that is clear and the difference between those two. Great. All right. Now, if we're looking at our sibilant information right here, right, or taking our sibilance track, we can come over here and click anywhere in the window and then hit Command A. That will select everything. Then what you want to do is come to your sibilant balance tool and just select all of them and just drag up. And what that will do is only leave behind the sibilant information, right? If I solo this vocal right now, all we're getting is sibilant information. Then what I want to do is come to the other vocal that is just the body and do the same thing, select all, except here I'll grab my sibilant balance tool and drag down, and we want to drag that down to -100, right? We want that all the way down. If we just listen to this, now it should sound like she has a lisp.
I don't recall what we said.
Perfect, right? But we're not going to listen to it that way. When we listen to both of them together,
I don't recall what we said, but
we get the same exact vocal, the original vocal, but now we can adjust them separately, right? So basic treatment, I could come over here to just the sibilant track and just lower that in volume a little bit. That kind of works like a de-esser, except it's not automated, right? It's not going to clamp down in certain areas and not in others. You're just controlling the volume of that sibilant information right there. Other things that I could do would be to come over to the lead vocal track that is the body with the one that doesn't have the sibilants, right? And put a high shelf on it. And this would allow me to crank up a decent amount of high frequency information, right, without brightening up those S's. So now we get a lot more sheen on it without necessarily making it any more harsh.
I don't recall what we said, but I remember
Right? I like that. That sounds a little classier and isn't bringing those S's out anymore. Now, another thing that I would like to talk about is when you think about those S's, right? Those T's, those are things that you only hear when you are really close to someone. So they give a lot of cues and a lot of clues about proximity and actually intimacy too. So oftentimes what I will also do is turn on reverbs and delays on the body portion of this and less or none at all on the sibilant information. So now we get
I don't recall what we said, but I
this is really nice on repeating delays because they don't have that same sibilant information. You don't get a lot of splashy bouncing around of it. They just blend in a little more and a little smoother without seeming as upfront. So you can even have them be louder without necessarily clomping all over the mix. It's very, very cool. Another portion, a thing that I like to do sometimes is add some distortion, right? Now, I like adding distortion to lead vocals, but the problem there is often that when you put it on the whole vocal that's got the S in there as well, what you end up with is a vocal that gets kind of harsh. Let's put a distortion processor on the lead vocal body right here and crank it up a little bit. Let's see how this sounds.
I don't recall what we said, but I remember the spark.
I like that, right? Like, once I balance that back into the mix a little bit, I get this thickness that's there, but we don't get that added harshness. Okay, so as you can see, separating these two and treating them differently is very, very, very useful. But there's another thing that I want to point out right here, right? Which is, even though, you can use a de-esser to do a lot of this, there's something here that we can do that you can't do with the de-esser, which is bring back a syllable that's swallowed, right? If we listen to this phrase,
I don't recall what we said, but I remember the spark.
okay, so she sings spark right there, but that K has been swallowed up. And this is because Melodyne didn't detect this quite as well as it should have. That's okay. We've got the tools to go in and fine tune this, right? So whenever you need to do any fine tuning, especially of sibilant detection, this is where we're going to go into note assignment mode, right? So I'm going to select this note and go into note assignment mode. And let's get a better look at this right here. Here in note assignment mode, as a reminder, note assignment mode is how Melodyne is interpreting the information, right? So it's determining that there's a split right there. And what I want to do is actually move that split a little bit earlier, right? I want to move that split to right where the pitched portion of this note ends. And now we see this is even a little bit stronger right here. This K is a little stronger. So now I can go back into my edit mode, and then I can come over here to my amplitude tool and drag this up. I'm going to make this a little bit louder right here. And now when we listen, we get
I don't recall what we said, but I remember the spark.
great. Brought out that K in spark right there without affecting anything else, right? I didn't change the body of the word. I didn't make it harsher. I just brought out the K. There's no de-esser on the planet that can do that. I hope you've enjoyed this today. Thanks.